All right. Social studies is not going to be the most exciting this week because I do need to assess your knowledge and what I've taught to make sure that you're understanding everything from chapter 7. So, we normally don't do the TEKS practice at the end of the lesson because I ask you a lot of these questions when we're studying the chapter or in a more formalized assessment like a test. But we're not going to have a test. I want you to use the resources you have, like your textbook. And if you're unsure of what an answer is, go back to that lesson within the chapter and read it. I'm going to read these questions and go over some things with you. So I do suggest that you watch the lesson and stay with me. Pause it if I tell you to go back and read something so you can fill in your answer. We're going to work on pages 278 and 279 today, and then we'll do 280 and 281 on Wednesday. So let's go ahead, and if you turn to page 278 in your textbook, it's going to look like what I have on the screen. So the first thing we're talking about is needs and wants. Remember, needs are things that you have to survive. Wants are things that are just nice to have. So you are going to identify these items in the box below as needs or wants. Circle the items that are needs and underline the items that are wants. So let's look at shelter. Do you have to have shelter to survive? Yes. So you would circle shelter. Basketball. While some of you may think that basketball is a necessity for life, I assure you that it is not. That is a want, it's a luxury, it's something great to watch or be able to play with. And so you are going to underline that word. Now, number 2 says describe a decision-making process you might use to make a choice between buying 2 items. We talked a lot about this before spring break. Sometimes cost plays a big factor in deciding what things you're going to buy. When you want 2 things and they're both the same cost, that's when the decision-making process really comes into play. You need to factor in need or want. You need to factor in which thing's going to last longer, which thing are you going to be able to use more. What are you going to get the most of your money out of? Let's look at lesson 2, producers and consumers. Remember, producers are the people or the things that give us something, and consumers are the ones that buy it or eat it. They consume it. So identify resources that businesses use to produce goods. So you can think of farmers, factory workers. Think of different things that make items that you would want to buy. And then explain how government regulations impact consumer costs. That's a hard idea to grasp. I encourage you to go back to page 255 and read the couple of paragraphs. It's literally titled Government and Consumer Costs. The very first couple of sentences say, the government affects how much consumers pay for a product. And one way the government impacts consumer costs is by regulating businesses. Regulations are rules. These rules are designed to protect consumers. So they want to protect the consumer so a grocery store can't charge an astronomical amount on something that is so unnecessary. Stores can charge different prices for items, but a store's not going to charge $5 for one apple while another store is charging 80 cents. That's where the government can come into play. So definitely go back and read that to be able to answer your question on number 4. When we go to lesson 3, exchanging goods and services, read the question carefully, determine the best answer to the question from the 4 choices provided, circle the best answer, multiple choice. What usually happens when the supply of something goes down? So we've talked about supply and demand. Demand is when everybody wants it. And then supply is the ability to meet that demand. So how fast are they able to make the product and get it out there? So if they're not able to make that product very quickly and the supply of it goes down, what do you think is going to happen to the price of it? Do you think it's going to go down also, or do you think it's going to go up, stay the same, or constantly change? And then number 6 says, identify 2 details that support the main idea. The main idea they're giving us is the United States has a free enterprise system. We've talked a lot about that. We first introduced this, though, in lesson 3. The free enterprise system you can find on page 262. Remember that the free enterprise system is when people can have a private business and decide what goods to make and buy and what type of work to do. So give me some details to support that main idea, okay? And then we are going to move on to lesson 4, spending and saving. Identify ways people can spend, donate, and save money. Then describe how they can make spending, donating, and saving easier. So remember, spending money is when you're buying something. Donating money is when you are giving money to typically an organization that needs it, and you're not getting anything in return. And then save money is when you are putting it, we've talked about, in that piggy bank, and you're not touching it, because eventually you can save it to buy something, or you save it for when you're older. That's why adults plan for retirement. They're saving amounts of their money, so when they retire and aren't working, they can live off of that. All right, we are going to go ahead now. And did I read all of those already? That's it. Not that hard, guys. And then next week, we will go on. Use your textbook. All of the answers are in there. I want you to practice going back through these paragraphs and finding the answer, because they're in there. You're not having to make up anything. They're not going to ask you any questions that, A, I did not teach you, and B, that's not printed in this textbook. We'll go over some of these answers if I see that there's a lot of questions arising, or I'm seeing that some things are wrong when you're submitting your picture into your portfolio on Class Dojo. All right, I am headed to the school soon. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.